Here's one, and you know something? This is the only response I've had about Jerry Williams passing away. You know, there's something wrong. There is something very, very wrong. I realized that he was on with me in WNWS in 1980. It's 23 years ago. And most of the people listening to us back in those days are probably dead by now, because Jerry used to joke about our ancient demographics. He was really a very funny guy. Jerry was known. He made his career, even though he was a little devious and backstabbing, but he made his career based on the real heavy-duty political talk in Boston and Chicago. But when he came down here, he said to me, being on in the afternoon when it was 100 degrees in the shade, people wanted mostly fun and games. They wanted to keep it light. And he was right. He was absolutely right. And I should, in honor of his passing away, I should tell that Jerry Williams story about the last night in town.
Yeah.
About the robbery in our building. I've told you that.
Mm-hmm.
I will tell you that in a minute. Anyway, subject Jerry Williams. Yesterday when you mentioned the passing of Jerry Williams, the name stirred my memory. This is Rob in Pennsylvania. You probably heard him on DB, and he obviously did because I'm reading ahead. It was not until you mentioned Bill and Dolly Banks that hit home. It's been more than 20 years since Jerry left WWDB in Philadelphia for Florida. At that time, he was my favorite talk show host as he had a fiery take-no-guff style much like yourself. That was back in the days when there was a healthy mix of left and right, liberal, conservative talk radio hosts. Unfortunately, both those days and Jerry Williams are now gone. Thanks for the memory, says Rob in Pennsylvania. And you are, as usual.
Absolutely correct, sir.
Yeah, he was great. He was a great talk show host. Took on a lot of issues, the turnpike tolls in Massachusetts. I mean, wasn't afraid to take anybody on. So anyway, his last night at WNWS, he had just had it with South Florida, didn't want any part of the whole ambiance. And he had an offer to go back to Boston, I believe it was. And so I'm working 8 to midnight. Now, Jerry was on between 2 and 6, I want to say. At 2 and 6, because Studley was on there. I just love Israel, the Jewish people. That the right-wing bitch, he was on between 6 and 8. So anyway, it's he's in the building. He's getting all his stuff together. He's leaving. He's got a few cartons of stuff he's going to pack up in his car and head back to Boston. And I'm on the air. It's like about 8:30, and all of a sudden he comes to the door of the studio. Now keep in mind, this is a studio with no windows. I mean, you think you're cloistered in, like back in the corner. Mm-hmm. No exit, no, only one door, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, no window. And there was a window in the door though. And I see his face in the window with a look of terror. I mean, as white as a sheet, almost as pale as George. And he opens the door and he says to me, and the caller is going on, hello, Neil, my lips are blue, you know, the old Yentas going on. Yeah. And so I shut off my mic and he says, 3 black guys with guns. They took my chain. And he's pointing around. Yeah. And then he disappears. Then he vanishes. Now, keep in mind that I'm sitting in the back, and of course our building, we used to be a beauty parlor, that building, and it didn't look like a radio station, didn't have a big sign in front of it. It could have been anything. And so obviously the guys that broke in, they didn't know what kind of a business it was. They were just interested in making an armed robbery. So I'm sitting in there thinking, and visions of sugar plums are dancing in my head because I got nowhere to go, baby. I got nowhere to go. I could hide under the counter, but you can't hide too long in a room that's about 2 by 4. And so I said we're having an emergency in a building. If someone would please call 911 and have them come to the radio station. I gave the address on Ludlam Road in Dixie, whatever. And to make a long story short, they vamoosed because I guess they finally realized that it was a radio station. They were wending their way back and they looked and they saw the equipment and they, holy crap, we're in a radio station.
There ain't no money here.
So I brought him in after the break and I put him on the air and he told the whole story and he was still pale as a ghost. This was Jerry Williams' last night on the air in South Florida. His last night. Yeah. True story. Jerry Williams is dead at 79. Nothing in the Herald, nothing in the Sun Sentinel. I'm going to probably take a little bit too much research in the homework. In fact, I'll probably call him Jimmy Williams.